Or maybe you're having so much fun that you want to call and share that. We need somebody to call in with a fun victory story. So let's do that too. But anyway, this is where we do talk about how it feels to be alive and all your emotions and anxieties and depressions and addictions and all that stuff, plus all your relationships, how those are going. And we share those. And so to do that, let me give you a number 844-940-2774. It's 844-940-2774. Let me give that number one more time 844-940-2774 to join in. If it, can't get the words out. If this is your first time call or watching, we're glad to have you. We are available on all sorts of platforms. You go to YouTube, you can go to Instagram, and you can go to Facebook. And what you find there, as well as you can download the program as a podcast. But here's what you find a tribe of people that is gathering and growing and sharing and supporting each other. One of the things I love about this audience is that it tends to people that kind of hang out with us here are not so much bystanders in life. I find they're growers, they're participants, and they are in the process and in the journey together. And as a result, we're pretty open and transparent on this program, talking about struggle, but there's a lot of sharing and helping that goes on those platforms. So join the platforms. Go look, at everybody there, and you'll see a lot of support. So appreciate all y'all that do that and share the program with your friends. Now, we're going to hop into our thought for the day, which we always start out with while the calls are coming in. 844-940-2774 is the number again, 844-940-2774. I do think there is one line at least open. And the thought for the day. Oh, got to make an announcement. Don't forget our dating seminar. We've got a 2-hour webinar right here online, a 2-hour dating event coming up on March 24th. You can sign up right now for early bird pricing for that. And it's going to be all things dating. You listen to this show much, we get a lot of great dating calls. And so basically, we're going to cover those two areas of the dating life that I wrote a book called How to Get a Date Worth Keeping. And those are pretty much the two areas. You're either not getting dates or the ones you're getting aren't worth keeping, right? And so what causes that? Are there reasons for that? Are there things we can do about it? Absolutely. We're going to cover that. So to register for that, go to boundaries.me/dating. Boundaries.me/dating. All righty. So here's the thought for today. Guys, I don't play tennis too much. I used to when I was a kid. And I knew enough about it to know something that I bet you can identify if you've ever played tennis. And even if you haven't, I bet you can identify with this as kind of a metaphor. Now, when you play tennis, there are two sides of the court, right? Your opponent can fire a shot at you, and it might come on this side over here, and it might come on that side over there. Now, that's pretty much why great tennis players hang out where? In the middle of the court. And why do they do that? Because they want to be able to handle anything that life / the opponent fires at them. Now, if you notice, when you're standing in the middle of the court, then if it comes on, I'm right-handed, if it comes on my left side, I run over here and I hit the shot with the backhand like that. If it comes on my right side, I run over here and I hit it with my forehand. Now, here's what I learned. And I don't remember which one it was. I'm going to assume it was my forehand. But one of them was better than the other one. My forehand was better than my backhand. All right. So what did I start to do a lot? Well, I found myself kind of drifting over a little bit out of the center so I could cover more of these shots with my strong suit, my forehand, right? And if you're not careful, you end up almost off the court trying to hit everything with a forehand or get to it. And that's not the way the game's designed to be played. And all the greats, they can hit it on either side of them. Why? Because they have developed both sides of their competencies. Now, what the heck does that have to do with life? Everything. Everything. Here's what I mean. God has made you a complete tennis player. Now, I'm not talking about physically. I'm talking about holistically with your makeup as a human being. Now, in your makeup, you're like this, however you want to look at it, let's call it the pie, and you got the different pieces I talk about it, or however you want to look at it. And people that have fruitful lives, you know what they have? They have something called wholeness. The whole thing is working, the whole game. In fact, the Bible has a word for this. One time, one of my favorite verses, Jesus said, "You're to be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect." Now, a lot of people miss that because they interpret perfect as flawless, without blemish. Okay? Well, that's not even what that word means. That word means, in the original language, it means complete. In other words, and actually the word has a goal orientation. The word is, I think it's teleos that's used there, has a goal orientation in it that sort of like there's an end game, an end goal to which you aspire to become completely you, that you are to be all of what you were to create to be, just as God is all of who he is. Now, they're not the same. We're different. But see, you're to be whole, you're to be complete, you're to be all of you. I wrote a book called Integrity. Integrity is not just about telling the truth, or so many shallow definitions of this word. They're who they are in public as they are in private, or they're not. That's duplicity. That's not all of integrity. Integrity means complete, whole, an integer. Same word, integrity, integer. Remember back in math, an integer is what they call a whole number. So why does life not work for us so many of the times? Because we lack wholeness. Now, that's not a moral issue. That is a maturity issue. Now, there are moral issues that keep us from getting whole, for sure. For example, we'll never achieve wholeness if we're lying. We'll never achieve wholeness if we're envious. We'll never achieve wholeness if we're judgmental. We'll never achieve wholeness if we're arrogant, for sure. We'll never achieve wholeness if we're narcissistic. We'll never achieve wholeness if we're passive. We'll never achieve wholeness if we're overly aggressive. We'll never achieve wholeness if we're not connecting. There's all these different dimensions of personhood that make us whole. That's the whole game. So what do? Well, what we do is, all of us, we try to play the whole game from one side of the court using our strengths. Using our strengths. Let's say, for example, and by strengths, I don't mean in the strengths movement way, like in terms of giftedness. A lot of confusion about that, by the way. Your gifts, you might be good at big picture thinking, or you might be good at moving things forward. You might be good at marketing or sales or art or music or whatever. That's those kind of strengths. Those are gifts. Okay. What I'm talking about, because nobody has all the gifts, What I'm talking about here is character, your makeup, not moral character only, though that's a part of it, but your whole makeup. Now, what happens with people is there's something that's less injured when we're growing up, or some way in which we made it through when we were growing up, because the other parts of us, the backhand, might have been injured or unavailable. Okay. Let's say, for example, if you think of the simplest way of looking at the whole game of life, it would be the two functions of love and work. Okay. We're designed to be relational, have love and connection in our lives, and we're designed to be aggressive. I don't mean angry, I mean initiative, moving forward, using your gifts, accomplishing things, getting it done, making up your bed, going to work, getting a paycheck, love and work, cleaning up the yard, whatever activities that are task oriented. A whole person's supposed to be able to do both. Well, let's say you grow up and there wasn't a lot of connection there. Let's say you were abandoned or you had detached, emotionally unavailable family, parents, school, whatever. Well, what do I do when I don't have that side of the game available to me? You're really, really good at performance beforehand. And so all of life becomes about performing, right? And I find I get good feelings from performing, getting good grades or sports or, doing jobs or whatever. And that's how I kind of feel good. And that's how I cope. And then I try to do all of life leaning on that side of the game, but I'm ignoring my backhand. And then you get to some point and you get in a relationship and the other person wants a whole person. And yet we're detached or emotionally unavailable, or we're lonely and we get depressed and we crash because all that work never did fill that love bucket, right? And that's the wake up call to become whole and start to work on what you didn't get completed the first time around. Now, there's flip side of that. Some people, they never got coached, they never got challenged, they never got resourced, they never got instructed on the performance side of life. Nobody ever challenged them, all that kind of stuff. And they just sort of like worked on the, just hanging out and their friends and relationships, and their performance was mainly around, kind of being there, right? Maybe being supportive, et cetera, et cetera. But not a lot of goal orientation there. So they go through life. Sometimes you see a lot of this. I've heard this a lot of times from uh, really nurturing people, moms or dads, where they kind of make all life about their connections, not too much about performance. And then, they quickly get married and they have a bunch of kids and, they're fulfilled, their family and the kids or their whole life. They center their whole life around the kids. But then the kids leave home and they got that empty nest. And then they go into a deep depression because they never have developed that. What do I want to do? What do I want to accomplish? Mainly, it's been accomplishing things with family, which is very, very good. I mean, I love that. Love, 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 love. But I also think the best parents are the ones that have a performance orientation as well as a connecting orientation, because that's a whole picture for kids. So, what am I saying, guys? I'm saying, look at your life. Which side of your game, what part of your game needs to be improved? I grew up a competitive golfer. And one of the things that I learned early on, painfully, was there were shots that I just really was much stronger at hitting. Typically more like the full shots side of the game, the long stuff, and the middle irons and all that. And I just love to go to the practice range and hit those shots, thousands of balls, right? But there were other shots that I didn't feel as good about, early on, sort of what they call the short game. And then my teacher, when I got serious about this, my teacher put me on a regimen, right? Where didn't want me just hitting the same shot over and over and over that felt good on the range. Made me go to around the green and dump out hundreds of balls and start chipping them. And I couldn't leave until if any of you have ever played golf, hitting chip shots into a green. How long do I have to do this, coach? After you've made 3 of them? Well, making a chip shot is not easy. It's not like a putt. You're off the green. I got to hole it out. And he made me develop that side of my game. And you look at the great players, look at the great football teams. They got a good offense and defense. So I want you to look at these parts of your life. The ability to connect, the ability to stand up in your connections and have boundaries and limits, say, no, I'm not going to be controlled. The ability to accept less than imperfect and forgive, the ability to face pain and grieve and express your hurt and be there for others when they do and forgive yourself and others and not be perfectionistic, the ability to take risks and be uncomfortable in learning things and getting out of your comfort zone and saying yes to a challenge around a talent or something like that. See, all of those things are part of having a full game. So let's look at it. Your intellectual development. When's the last time you read a nonfiction book that develops you in some area that you need more knowledge in? When's the last time you read a spiritual growth book? When's the last time you read a personal growth book? I'm not shaming you. I'm just saying that whatever part of our game doesn't get attention doesn't tend to grow. So let's look at life holistically. When's the last time you read a financial competency book about personal finance, for example? Let's be whole. Right? Look at all of life. The game will go a lot better when we do that. All righty. Let's go to the phones. We're going to talk to Olivia, one of my favorite names, Olivia, because our oldest daughter's named Olivia. Welcome to the program.
Hey, Dr. Henry. This is crazy. I can't believe I got on.
Yeah, it's crazy to get. Only you got to be crazy to call me. That's kind of like what you're saying, right?
No, that's not what I meant. I just thought there's always such a long list. I didn't think I would get on. So you
won. You won.
Yay.
Now, are you on a speaker or are you on a speaker or Bluetooth or something, Olivia? You sound a little far away on my end.
Okay, got that. Let me fix it. Here. My phone's messing up some. Okay, can you hear me better now?
That's so much better.
Oh, great. Sorry about that. But
all right.
Well,
what can I do for you?
Enjoy listening to you, and you've always just been so helpful. And I love that you've been talking a lot about dating. So I do have a couple of dating questions for you, if that's okay.
Awesome.
All right. Well,
now wait a minute. Are you out there? Are you out there in the dating world right now?
I am in the dating world. Yes. I recently even put myself out on online dating. Did not have the best experience with that, so I feel like that's kind of triggered some more questions I have. But I'm 29.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on a second. I just got to clarify this. So you just put yourself out there. You got on a dating site?
Well, like I've been out there. Like I live my life. I meet guys all the time. I'm meeting people, but I thought I would be even more active with it. And like with the start of the new year, I put myself on a dating website. But to be honest, I had some really negative experiences with it.
Okay.
So,
Well, wait a minute. Wait, hold on, Olivia. I'm gonna push back here. I don't know what they
okay.
are yet, and I don't know. Maybe they're too injurious to even. They might. I don't know what they are. But would you not expect to have some negative experiences?
I guess I should expect that, but I
Okay.
think that I have
Good.
like such a romantic dreamer part of me that it's just like I don't know. It just it made me like it can be so easy
Uh,
for me to be very trusting because like I'm
oh.
just naturally a very trusting person and I guess
Okay.
I was learning especially with the world of online dating, I guess you shouldn't be that trusting.
I wouldn't be that. You know what? I'm. Are you a person of faith?
Yes, I am.
You ever read the Bible?
Yes.
If you've ever read the Bible, there's a lot of things you can find in the Bible, right? But
Mhm.
one of them is the last, probably the last bunch of people we ought to be trusting are human beings. So I'm a person
Yeah.
of faith. I read this book, and if it says anything, it says there are some really good humans, but not all of them are good. And we got to figure out our people picker so we can spot the balance because we better hide from the rest because there are some bad actors out there. And that's how dating is too. So anyway, I just want to say that.
Huh.
So what
That's
tell me how
good.
I can help you. What's your question?
Well, one of my main things I was just wondering is like how can I not take rejection so personally?
Oh, well tell me
And
about that.
um
What what do you mean when somebody
well,
doesn't call you back?
um like I guess because I've been even on some of your recent shows like hearing even when what's her name Kateness was
Kate, yeah.
talking and like both of you both of you were saying about like putting yourself out there and I heard you
Well, she
talk about like
wrote
the
she
three
actually wrote a
P's.
book. She wrote a book called Thank You for Rejecting Me.
Right. Yeah, I did want to get
Yeah.
that. Um but I just feel like it can be very easy. I know I'm not supposed to take that rejection so personally, but I feel like whenever I am rejected or if I'm ghosted or even like with the
Hmm.
online dating, there's a
Yeah.
few instances with that where even like after going out with the person and thinking like, wow, like had a really great time with him, and then just unexpectedly like being ghosted, it just anytime that that happens, it just makes me
Yeah.
go back to like, okay, is something wrong with me? Am I not enough?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's pretty
I know that like,
you know
oh,
what?
I'm sorry. I was saying, I know that like people have told me like, well, when someone's like ghosting you, typically you should look at like maybe that person isn't ready for like the emotional involvement or, um, but rather than thinking that there's something on their end, I feel like I just always look at myself and be like, well, no,
Yeah.
something's wrong with me.
Okay. So your question is how do you change that?
Right.
Is that right? Okay. Well, let me let me start with something. That's not a sickness.
Hmm.
That's that's that is the way we were designed. See,
Yeah.
we're supposed to get our picture of our value, okay, our worth, if you will, from relationship. That's the way we're designed.
Hmm.
So a baby comes into the world, and if they are met with that smiling face, I mean, you can even watch this. We can do brain scans and videos. There's all sorts of, you see a little child, if somebody comes to them with open arms and smiling and they just have it, it's like a baby gasm. They're just like they're just floating around in just heavenly feelings. I'm loved, I'm wanted, I'm desired, I'm valued, because they're key relationships, the homes that we are born into, the relationships we're born into. They welcome us, and that love and that being desired registers as I am loved and I am wanted and I am desirable. Okay?
Mhm.
You got me? So that's the way we're designed. Now, once somebody is designed like that, they carry that inside, and it has to be fueled, but they carry it around inside, and then they go out to the playground, and some kid is mean to them, and what do? They go, "Gosh, he's weird," or she's weird, and they run back home and say, "Mommy, there was like this weird person out there," and see, because I'm loved, then if somebody's not nice to me, I think something's wrong with them. What's wrong with them? They're not like the people at my house. They're not kind. See, it registers as counterfeit. It registers as darkness. It registers as
Mm.
unfamiliar because you're coming from a secure base. So when people that have a secure base inside of them enter into the sales world or the where there's a lot of rejection, sales or acting is another one, or performing, where you got to go on 1,000 auditions and all of that kind of stuff,
Right.
or dating, right? The
Mhm.
great ones, they feel very secure. And not only does that help them not internalize rejection, it also helps them perform better, right? So they get less
Yeah.
rejections because they're more of who they are. But even when they're
That's
rejected,
good.
they go, "Oh well," and it goes off. Now, if we grow up and we're getting wired in our formative years, and all these tapes and everything are inside of us, tapes, I just dated myself, digital files in your head are inside of yourself, that the way it works is I'm going into every situation. Am I good enough? I don't feel good enough. Are they going to like me? Are they going to get mad at me? Are they going to withdraw from me? Because that's what I've experienced. Then every single dating interaction or every sales call or every audition becomes a test where my entire being is on the line, and this person has the capacity to judge me as wantable or unwantable.
Hmm.
Now, I don't know you, but if we had the video, right, I would probably guess that maybe there are some dynamics in there in your life of where it's been a lot of performance orientation or something where that basic security that you need more of is kind of like lacking a little bit. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would say something that's accurate.
Okay. So, how do we fix that? Well, you don't just fix it by trying to change your mind, which is important. You said, you can't really interpret it that way. That's very important. But you got to get your home base, the people, your family. Now, I'm not talking about your family of origin, because adults' family needs to be their spiritual family, their relationships that they have
Mhm.
chosen, that know them deeply and love you. And you need that tribe that you go out into the dating world and run back to, and you have a grounded home base. And then
Right.
you're starting to feel lovable and wantable. And then that group begins to evaluate these yo-yos out there that you're dating. And
That's
so
really good. Yeah.
that's what you got to do. And also you got to, exactly like you're saying, um, each reject, and unless there's some reason, if somebody's a jerk, and they've never developed any relationship skills, and they go on a date just to sit there and stare at the person like this. And they if they haven't developed the ability to have a conversation, have something interesting about them and their life, and this, that, and the other, then obviously who's going to want to go out with me again if I just sit there and stare at the person the whole time? But normal people, and you've got, stuff going on, and you're intelligent and you're funny, and, you have an interesting life, right? So then you go and you feel
Mhm.
good about that. So then you go out on a date and this guy doesn't call you back. All right. Well,
Mhm.
like you're saying, I live in LA. People go on auditions all the time. Actors, you know, auditioning for a part. It's dating. And so what happens? They don't get called back. Now, I know a lot of A-list actors that you would know, right? Don't get called back sometimes. Why? Because the script and the director, that wasn't what they were looking for that movie. But they don't take it personally.
Mhm.
They just didn't fit that character.
Right.
So a lot of people are going to be looking for something based on their own pathology, based on their own development, based on whatever. You're not right for their movie. That's not anything bad about you.
Thank you. That's really helpful.
So I got to ask you though, um, how many of these rejections have you had? You said you ventured out there because you sound pretty
Um,
cool to me.
I I sound pretty what?
You sound pretty cool to me.
Oh, thanks. Well, I mean, I guess I just feel like I travel for work, so I'm living. I feel like I live my life to the fullest, and I'm not like hiding or anything. Like I'm a very friendly person when I go out. Like even if I'm like interested in someone, like I don't know, I won't like shy away from that person. Like I'll put myself out there. I'm fine with doing
That's
that,
good.
and but then I just feel like even like if it didn't turn into a relationship, just a lot of times like I feel like I'm interested in someone and then I guess I kind of take that as a rejection of like, well, there is no reciprocation. Or sometimes
Yeah.
I feel like I'm doing everything I know to do to put myself out there, but just haven't had um too much, which I mean, I guess I shouldn't look at it completely as rejection because sometimes, I mean, even with like things that have turned into like actual serious relationships, um, if I do really
So you
look at
do get
those, I feel
dates.
like most of the time, what was that?
You do get dates.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like been more recently trying to be open, like what I've been hearing about, even like you don't have to figure out if that person's the one,
Oh
before
my
you know them
gosh.
or on the first date. Because I think that I'm kind of, as crazy as that sounds, I think that I've put that pressure on me before of like, well, if I don't feel like the call of God lines up, or if I don't feel like there's potential, then I don't even consider that person. But I've been trying to be
Yeah.
more open to like, well, let me
Good for
give that
you.
person a chance. So
Good for
thank
you.
you.
Good for you.
But
Well,
even like
just
in relationships, oh, what was that?
even in relationships, what? And I got to get some other
Well,
callers,
like,
but I wanted to hear this part.
yeah, right. But actual like relationships, I mean, I think that I am the one when it has turned into like a long-term relationship. Most of the time, I have been the one that has like stepped back from that. And then that's
Ah,
kind of like another question too of like, which is kind of like the opposite spectrum of I'm wanting to make sure that like I think that idea of like trying to find this like dream person, like what is the balance between like how would I word this? I guess just knowing like when it's right to like fully commit and not like because I've heard people say like about don't just like settle or whatever.
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I need more clarity with that as
Okay. Well,
um
it's a whole it's a whole other topic. It's a good one. It's important, but basically, here's going to be the dynamic tension that you will never find a perfect person.
right.
Okay, you won't. You just won't. But there are. I think of it like a seesaw. Okay, a fulcrum, right? If the seesaw is on one side, right, leaning on one side, and that's the unhealthy side, or the something's really missing here side, or this person's dysfunctional, or they don't have good character, or whatever, then you're supposed to be saying no to those. That's not being too picky. Okay.
Mhm.
But when you've developed yourself to where you're not getting sucked into bad actors all the time, or hurtful people or shallow people, or even settling just so you're in a relationship just so you won't be alone, and you get over to the other side. Now, if you're starting to have a trail, and this is why I tell people you got to get your numbers up. If you're starting to have a trail, a big herd of really, really good ones that you're rejecting, then we have to ask, I just went through, you know, 65 good people and I found something wrong with every one of them, then that generally speaks to there's some sort of defensive maneuver that's happening to protect something about you. So that's why I
Mhm.
say you got to have enough, you got to have enough numbers to find out what are your false negatives and your false positives. Okay, I got to run, Olivia, and go to some other calls. Thank you for your call, and I hope that you get that
Thank
get grounded enough to where when you go out there, one rejection, that person doesn't have the power to determine whether you're lovable or not, because we think you are. All right.
Oh, thank you so much. This is so helpful.
Okay. Thanks for your call, and
All
I
right.
would encourage. Thank you. I'd encourage you to sign up for the dating webinar. It's coming up on March the 24th. You can sign up for that by going to boundaries.me/dating today. Okay, let's go to Stella, who's calling us from Orange County, California. That's down the road. Hey, Stella.
Hi, Dr. Cloud.
Hello. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Wait, just amazing. Get to talk to Olivia, get to talk to you. How can that be a bad day?
Mm-hmm.
So tell me how I can help you.
Right. Well, I want to thank you first. I've been a fan for many years, and I've learned so much. So thank you for what you're doing.
Oh, you're welcome.
Today I'm calling about one of my daughters. I have 4 girls, and 3 are living at home. For the last 2 years, I've been parenting alone because my husband is working overseas, and my middle daughters are twins, 15 years old, freshmen in high school, and one of them in particular is a high achiever. She wants to be the top of her class, valedictorian. That's her goal. She's shooting for Ivy schools, and is working herself too much. And I've been trying to help her put some boundaries in her life as far as her managing her time. To give you an example, last night she went to bed at 2:30 in the morning because she stayed up late to work on a project, and woke me up at 2:30 to say, I can't do this. It's not working. Mom, I need your help. And so I woke up at 2:30 a.m. to say, okay, let's go to bed for now. You can wake up tomorrow morning an hour earlier and work on it again. And so
Was it due today?
it was due today. Yeah.
Okay.
And
All right. So tell me the question.
so how can I help her? She's loading herself with, 2 foreign language. She's taking Spanish and French. She's
Okay.
taking
What
2
is the
sports.
tell me what the question is.
How can I help her realize that her physical and mental state is very important, and how can I help her understand that sleep is important, and how can I help her balance her schedule?
Okay. Tell me what her life looks like. I mean, everything you described is academic achievement. So studying and getting good grades. What's the rest of her life look like? Friends, social activities, sports, arts.
So yeah,
movies.
she's a happy kid. She loves sports. She's playing tennis and she's surfing, and she loves both, and she wants to do both. So
She
we
have
try
friends?
to, she has lots of friends. She's a social butterfly.
Great.
And she had told me that I know high school is going to be hard and something's going to have to give. And I've already decided that for me, sleep is going to have to give. I'm
No,
going to want
no,
and I want to do what.
no.
So,
Sleep's not going to give. We can't, that's not okay. This is where mom steps in
so,
and says, okay, you're not going to find the extra hours there. That's not okay. Because we have to find them somewhere else.
so
And that's
what
okay
are
for you to
some?
say.
Yeah, so I did. I said that. I said, okay, I'm going to shut your internet up at
Okay, I
midnight.
understand all that, but give me the question. How the question is how can you set these limits?
Yeah, a practical ways like to set some limits, because what I've done
Okay,
this far has.
well, give me a second here. So here's the problem. You don't know what's driving this, right? Or do you know what's driving this?
Well, I have some ideas.
Well, give them to me quick.
She's very competitive to begin with, and she has a twin sister. So for almost her entire life, it's been who is better, me or my twin sister, right? So
Okay.
that plays
So
a part,
competitive, comparing herself. What's the second one? You said
right?
you had some ideas.
The
What's another
second,
idea?
the second one is wanting to prove to her dad. Probably there's a little bit of abandonment feeling in her heart because dad is a
Okay.
workaholic and working overseas.
And
So
does
maybe
he have
that
high
plays.
standards? Does he put the high performance messages on her a lot?
No, he does not.
He does not. So she just says, okay, that's two. Give me, are there any more? Any other dynamics?
She was clashing with my oldest daughter, which is a college student right now, and so I'm wondering if even that is like, I'm going to prove that I'm better than you, kind of,
Okay.
and
All right.
achieve all those things.
So look, there's three sides of this that I think it would be good for you to address. All right. Number one is if there is a deficit motivation. In other words, like I was saying earlier in the program, on the initial thoughts here, if somebody's got some need that's not being filled by what it's supposed to be filled with, they'll try to fill it with other things that'll never fill it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if she, for example, if she has abandonment feelings that need to be answered and dealt with, and counseling, for example, would be a good place to do that, then that's got to be addressed, or this will be a way of self medicating. Okay. If she's got a feeling that lives in herself of, I'm not good enough, I have to prove that I'm good enough, either to dad or to the world or to mom or whoever, that I'm better than my sister, that feeling, that's got to be healed. All right. Now,
Mm-hmm.
that's number one. I would begin to try to get at in some way and maybe get some help to do that, to find out what's the underlying hunger that she's trying to fill by this. Number two, I would look for subtle cues of messages that she's getting either from culture or her peer group or the surrounding kind of extended family or whatever, that is kind of creating this high performance thing that she feels, the pressure under. And then also related to that, I would want her surrounded with a peer group that has normal expectations. For example, you put some kids in high achievement oriented schools where the whole thing
Mm-hmm.
is all this pressure from, parents and other kids and this and the other. Eating disorders are off the chart. Depression is off the chart. suicidality and ideation, all that kind of stuff. A lot of times it can be coming from a high pressure surroundings that are in this kid. And then we got to begin to look at what kind of messages are they getting about what it takes to be successful, et cetera, et cetera. So I would look at all of those things. And then the other thing I would do on the limit side, and then I got to get to some other callers. The other thing I would do is I would sit down with her and go back to what I said in the beginning of the program, and maybe sit down and listen, have her listen to it with you. And, I'm going to speak to her right now, okay? Because you can bring her into to this if you want. I don't know, you might embarrass her. But at least talk to her about draw a pie of life, okay? And the pie of life is, I like to think of it as these three big pieces. There's your health and well-being, the clinical piece, anxiety and pressure and stress and depression and sleep and health and thriving and joy, all that stuff. That's one piece. Second piece is relationships. And the third piece is performance, reaching our goals. And I would talk to her, look, sweetheart, what's very important is that this whole pie is balanced. So what I want you to learn to do, and I'm going to grade you on this, darling. I want to know what you're doing, because you got homework in all three of these parts of the pie. And we're look at how are your relationships? Who are you hanging around? Are we picking the right people? We want to look at your health. Are you taking care of that? We want to look at your grades and your performance as well. That's important too. But I am your parent, and I'm going to be grading you on all of these. And if I see you trying to live the whole life, the whole pie by performance, then I'm going to step in. I'm not going to allow that, and have some parenting that goes, the limits and consequences. So I love your concern for this, but I would do a complete diagnostic of it. And if it continues to carry on, so I would really look at a good counselor for her, because you don't want this turning into all the things that performance kind of standards can turn into, especially in adolescent girls, because you can get eating disorders, you can get depression, you can get a lot of other stuff. Okay.
Yeah, sounds good. Is there anyone you would recommend that puts in practice boundaries and your philosophy?
You live in Orange County, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people down there. We may still have. I moved out of Orange County 20 years ago, but still know some people that are connected to networks like that. If you will, if you go to our website, I don't know. I'm not saying this to the general. I don't have extended lists of referrals for all around the country, but I did live there, and we might could refer you to a few people. So give us your contact info. Okay. Thanks for your call. And parents, that's a good word there from Stella. Watch your kids. And are they balanced? Part of what one of my favorite verses, Galatians 4, it says that when we were children, we were under parents and guardians until the date set by the father. So one day somebody's supposed to say, hey, kid. I mean, I remember when my dad told me, I thank God that he did this, because I would have been a washout. I remember what he said to me. He says, all right, buddy, here's how this goes. He told me this when I was a little kid. He said, because he didn't get to go to college. His father died, and he had to work to support the family. And he told me, he said, I didn't get to go to college. He said, but I want you to go. He said, so I've been saving for it all these years, and you're going to college. The money's already put aside. Don't even worry about it. That's my job. I'm going to put you through college, but you got to get the grades to get in, and you got to get the grades to stay in, and that's your job. So that's what you got to do. And then here's the deal, son. When that ends, I'm done. So you want to drop by here and get a sandwich, I might give you one, but after school, you're on your own. And there was this very, very clear kind of, I knew all along that there were these expectations of, you know, having to be able to take care of yourself. It's like a parental thing, right? And then that verse says, under guardians and managers. So he's managing me along the process. It says, until the date set by the father. So at some point, there is an end date to this parenting thing. And so when we're looking at parenting, what we're talking to our kids about is, you know, and especially when they start to get teenagers, there's a day coming out there. Do you know how to do your own bank account? Do you know how to find your own friends? Do you know how to find the spiritual community? Do you know how to do your own laundry? Do you know how to deposit a check? Do you know how to even get a check? It's called a job. You ever thought about that? You want a little money? You know where money comes from? It doesn't come from mom and daddy. It comes from work. That's where it comes from. So what would you like to do? I need some money. Well, what do you want to do? And so all these things go into trying to look at your kids and develop the full banana here, right? A ripe banana. That's the word, the Bible's word for maturity. It means ripe. Okay. We don't want a less than ripe kid entering into the adult world. We got to ripen them. Ripen them. Okay, let's go to Mandy, who's calling us with another dating question. Mandy, welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you.
You're welcome. Are you calling us from Hawaii? Is that what it says?
Yeah.
I am so envious. We've been talking about wanting to go to Hawaii for a while. Lockdown. Hadn't been able to go. What island are you on?
Yeah. Oahu.
Oh, I'm just I'm dreaming right now. Okay, you didn't call to talk about Hawaii. So tell me how I can help.
Okay, so I have a dating question, or I guess a relationship question. So I dated someone for a while, and then we were friends for 3 years, dated for like 8 months total, and then we broke up and I moved here. And we recently reconnected. And
Did you move? Was the move in part because of the breakup or unrelated?
Yeah.
So when you break up, why do you have to move?
Because I knew that there was a really good chance that if I stayed, we would just keep kind of getting back together and nothing would change. That was part of it. And then the other part of it was just like me wanting to do something that I've always wanted to do.
Cool. All right. Where'd you live before?
And it was, yeah.
Did you live
Idaho.
in a big city? A small town or big city?
No, I lived in Coeur d'Alene. Yeah, small town.
So that was another part of it. Like your small town, this is the only guy in town.
Yes. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. And it was good. And God opened all of the doors for me here, and it's been a really amazing thing for me.
That's great.
Yeah. So I visited Idaho over Christmas and reconnected with him, and basically he told me that he still loved me and wanted to be with me.
Who broke up with whom?
I broke up with him, I would say.
Okay, why did you do that?
The predominant reason was it felt like we spiritually weren't equally yoked.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, it was really hard, but I had been burned by a church and started going back to church, and I just got a lot of resistance from him, and I just didn't want to be in a relationship like that. So that was the predominant reason.
Mandy. Stop. Would all of you single women or men of faith, would you please look at Mandy right now and say, I want to be like that? Because here's what she did. And it's not just, she was talking about their spiritual life, but let's just take any aspect of your life where you're looking for growth and health and you're trying to get more mature, and you're trying to, make your life better, and you're growing and all of that, and you get resistance to growth and development from the person you're with. Mandy said, "Look, pal, I'm going forward. If you're not coming with me, then I'm going by myself." So, Mandy, I'm going to send you a trophy if I could. All right, so keep going. You said I'm done, because I don't want you holding me back, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So he has come around to the Lord in like a bigger way more recently.
Big enough?
I don't know. I'm kind of we don't live in the same place, so it's a bit hard to tell, but he talks about it more. He's like going to church now and everything, so it seems like it could be. So then the other part of it is we had some communication issues, and I, like, since us reconnecting and me being here, I've said almost everything that I didn't say in our previous relationship, things I was afraid to say. And I said them, and
go, Mandy.
Yeah. Thank you. It's been really hard, but I just have to do it.
You have to do it. Well, you don't have to. You don't have to. You don't have to. You could be totally unfulfilled and miserable for the next 50 years. You could do that, but yeah.
Exactly.
But you chose to not.
That's what I'm realizing.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, I guess my question is, like, I know that he loves me, and there's a lot of gaps in practical things that he could easily fix if he wanted to. And that's what I communicated to him, is that
give me two or three of those real quick, because we're going to run out of time. What are the 2 or 3 practical things that he could fix? Like what?
When we have a conversation and I bring up an issue, I need him to make a repair. I need him to say, like, I heard you, or even like repeat back to me what I said, so that I know that he understands. And then
you need him to listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's one.
And yeah, so there's one, and then I need him to go to counseling for the issues that, like, I can communicate about them, but he needs to be coming from a different place. Like, from what I know of his family, there's a lot of healing that needs to be done there, and I can't become like codependent or be his mom or therapist. And that's a bit what it felt like in the past. So it's like, when I see an issue and he agrees that it's an issue and we talk about it, he needs to go figure it out.
I'm loving this. Go, Mandy.
Is that fair?
What else?
Is that fair?
Fair?
Yeah.
I mean, fair generally means that we're playing by the same rules, right? And so, fair is that you get to set what you want in the relationship, and he gets to set what he wants. And sometimes that matches, sometimes it doesn't. And so it's fair for you to say, look, I don't want to be a therapist. I want to be your girlfriend. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. So are they one more? You said 2 or 3. Is that all the practical things? You want him to get healthy or face his issues, and you want him to communicate and listen?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the question?
I mean, that's pretty much that. I guess I just so I've communicated a lot of those things, and we've had very little communication since then. And I'm like, should I just leave it? Should I check in to see, like, is he doing those things? Because that doesn't feel like something I should be doing. And I don't know where to go from here. I'm like, I've said everything. He agreed. And now we haven't really talked.
How long's it been?
A couple weeks.
And he said, I love you. I want to be with you.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like it. from what you've described.
Yeah, that's how I feel. It's like it's not. I know that he feels that way, but it's not translating into like the actions that I need to see.
Okay, stop. Did you hear what you just said? It's not translating into the actions that I, Mandy, need to see to go forward and be happy, right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't worry about in dating. I wouldn't worry about what somebody says. What I'd worry about is the feeling in my tummy that I'm left with what they do. And when you're dating somebody, and if you're thinking about even halfway thinking about getting exclusive, or that's the only person, you're in a relationship, why would you agree to do that when your tummy is empty or your tummy is choking on something bad? There's only three things our tummy can be doing at any given moment. If I go to a restaurant and I like what they're serving, then my tummy's really happy. I like what I'm getting here. I want to come back. In fact, I want to order more. This is going to go on my favorites list. Or I can sit there and wait for 3 hours and they never bring the food. Or they don't have anything I like. Or they can bring me something that makes me sick in my stomach. Now, I don't hear you being overjoyed with what you're being served.
Yeah. I feel like I'm left hungry.
You're left hungry. Okay. So do you get an answer? Is that an answer for you? You gonna listen to your tummy?
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, Mandy, you got a little squishy there. Look, here's what I want for you. Whoever's sitting across the table from you and ends up where you say, yeah, I want to be in a relationship with you, I want you to say, well, whoever's going to be sit in a relationship with me, here's what it's going to look like. They're going to pursue me and they're going to communicate well and they're going to listen. And these aren't unrealistic standards, by the way. These are like permission to play stuff, be able to have a connection, repair things when they go wrong, and be taking care of yourself in life and working on your issues. All right. Whoever I'm in a relationship, that's what it's going to look like. Now, Joey, if you want to be in a relationship with me, then that's what it's going to look like. You get to be the judge of that, Joey, not me. I've already made my judgment. I've set the standard.
Yeah.
You get to judge whether or not I'm right for you. And so you use your standards, and your tummy is your standard. And what you're telling me is right now that standard's not getting met.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Okay, that's something to think about.
All right.
And you can communicate that if he calls back, or you can call him and communicate that. I wouldn't, but you can. If somebody, I mean, when I met my wife, I can't imagine, I mean, going MIA for that long and thinking I'm pursuing her. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a big gap. All right. I got to run. Got to go to another call, but thank you for your call and thank you for sharing your story, because there are a lot of women and probably men that learned a lot from you, because you did some good stuff. So keep at it. Keep your standards high, and maybe he'll step up. Who knows? But maybe he won't. All righty. Let's try to take one more call here. We're going to go to Kelly, who's calling us from Texas. And welcome to the program. Hey, Kelly.
Hi, Dr. Cloud. Thank you so much for taking my call today.
You're welcome.
So my question is that my sister and her husband have chosen to put up boundaries to limit my time around their children. So they're my nephews that are 5, 3, and 1.5. I live out of state and see my sister's kids maybe about 10 days out of the year. But because of quarantine, I had the time this fall to go home and be in the Northwest. And that's really when this kind of issue came up, to where I was reaching out to the family, and I didn't get a chance to see them very much. My sister only invited me over in limited doses, and it was really hurtful, because I'm incredibly close to my sister and the kids. We do a lot of FaceTime dates. And so before I came
let
back
me ask
to
you, how old are you and your sister? What's the age difference? What phase of life are y'all in?
She's a year and a half younger than me. I'm 41. She's 38. I'm single with no kids. She's married with three little boys.
Okay.
And we've grown up and always been really close. We have normal sibling rivalry kind of stuff as kids, but in our adult life, I consider her to be one of my very best friends.
Okay. So why all of a sudden, is this a new rule for her?
It's, about a year and a half ago, she had told me that, my husband and I feel like when you're around our family, that it takes away from our family time. And, she had said some things about just, it seems like when you're around, it's kind of a lot. And, but honestly, she was pregnant at the time. And
what does that mean? What does that mean?
So Dr. Cloud, I've been working to get clear with my sister about what does this mean. And after this last trip, I learned from her, I wrote a letter, poured out my heart as to, like, it's really hard. I feel like, you guys are keeping me away from your family. I love you a lot. And basically some things came out of the conversation. She said, we feel like your love and care for our family is very smothering. We feel like when you're around, our children are, like, really excited to see you, and you're really excited to see them, but it really seems over the top. We feel like when our kids,
how is it?
She said that when I'm around, that the kids put up walls towards them. They feel that it's off because I don't have my own children or my own family, that my care for their family feels off to them. And
but
when
those are okay,
they also
go ahead.
They also asked me, like, they have a 5-year-old son, and they said, please refrain from, like, hand holding, hugging him, cuddling. And in fact, not like I'm not do this in some kind of a perverse way, but they were like, it just is not, it doesn't feel comfortable to us. Their 5-year-old son is like, Auntie, I love you. How are you? He's so excited to see me whenever I see him. I'm excited to see him.
Yeah.
We have a good relationship, but it's like there's something about it that my sister in the conversation, she said, these are my children. Like, she mentioned, when you were tucking the kids into bed and you wanted to lay hands and pray for them, that is my role. I'm the mom. You're not their mom.
Wow.
And so, I've gotten this sense that from that conversation where we kind of started to unpack this, that my sister feels very, like, she wouldn't say this, but, like, threatened by me around her children. And
hey,
it's
Kelly,
like they're putting up the boundaries.
I wish you had been around when my kids were little. I would love all this. Come help me.
So it's, and it's like the boundaries have gone up to where I'm like, and even now the kids are, so I've been trying to be very respectful. Like, I don't call that as much. I don't,
Well,
it's just a lot. The kids,
Okay, so what does she want that you're not okay with? She said, instead of that, here's what we'd like. Is she clear about what the expectations are? And
no, I've tried to get clear, and it's been, so I even asked behavior-wise, can you please tell me if I'm doing something that feels off to you so that I can know, so in the moment I can change or better understand. And so they had a counselor, so they said yes, but then at the end of the day, so I had a meeting with them in October, and then a whole month went by, and I after that, where they were going to, like, let me know, but I still did not see them. And they've basically had a counselor advise them to limit time around me. If you feel like this person is disrupting, my sister also said that I feel like you're very jealous of me. And our counselor said, you can bring a jealous spirit into the home, and it can be very disruptive, a very divisive, disruptive spirit can come through jealousy. because you don't have your own
How
children.
are you jealous?
I mean,
oh, because you don't have kids?
well,
Okay, so what we're
yeah,
running out of
yeah.
time here, unfortunately, but what
So
give me the question.
I'm sorry. My question is, how do I respond appropriately, like, to my sister? I want to respect her boundaries, but I also feel like her boundaries are off, and like there's some work that she needs to do, which isn't my work to do. But like, how do I respond lovingly? How do I open up dialogue? Because right now we're
it sounds like dialogue has
communicating.
been dialogue's open. It sounds
the
like
kids are asking. We've had some conversations, but it's just like, for me, it's been a major, I mean, this has crushed my heart. Honestly, it's probably been one of the most hurtful things. Her kids are starting to ask for me, like, what happened to Auntie Kelly? You know, asking my mom. My mom is wanting to step in, and I think I just need to talk to Katie. Like, this is just off, you know, this is an appropriate response for the situation.
Yeah. Okay.
But,
So what is the question?
At the end of the day, her boundaries are her boundaries.
Right.
How do I open up conversation? If it is the role, it sounds like we do have dialogue open, but then how do I move forward? Do I just say, like, okay, like, I'm out of your life, or do I? You know,
I think I would start there. Okay. You just said something that's really, really important. Okay.
Okay.
You said a couple things that are really important. These are her boundaries.
Okay.
These are her kids.
Yeah.
Okay. This is her home.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what happens a lot of times is some people, there's a, one of my favorite verses, and when it's talking about giving, it says, you know, he who sows sparingly shall reap sparingly, right? So if we have tight boundaries on ourselves and we're not opening ourselves up and giving, then we're not going to get a lot back from life. And so you're right, these are her boundaries. But if she so cloisters herself off from you or others, then there's going to be less that she gets from that. She has the right to do that, but probably not. I mean, the kids are starving a little bit for Auntie, it sounds like. So you're right. You have to respect her boundaries. You have to say, yeah, you know, understand, totally your deal. Let's start there. Number two, though, is and this is the way I would probably put it. I really do. Yeah, what? I'm sorry. Are you there?
Oh, I'm so sorry. You cut out. Okay, come back. Okay, I'm here.
All right.
I'm here. Yeah, I can hear you.
Number two, is here's what I've heard you say, that it's a little overwhelming, it's a little smothering, this, that, and the other. If I could get clarity, which I'm still kind of lacking, we've talked about it a little bit, if I could get clarity on what the specific behaviors that are offensive to you are, then I would be glad to respect those. Number three is if there's something else that really has more to do with you and me and our relationship that might also be included in this or driving this. Maybe you felt intruded or smothered by me in life. Maybe you felt like as a sister, you didn't have your own space. Maybe you didn't have yours instead of ours. Or, you know, sometimes sibling kind of dynamics get carried on into the chessboard of adult life. I would say, but let's get the kids and family out of the way. And we look at us, you know, does it feel like being the big sister? Have I overwhelmed you before now? Have you know, and because that's probably, or my guess would be maybe somewhere that's probably this is now she's got hers. Well, when you're a kid, this is my teddy bear. Well, when you're an adult, these are my kids, right? I don't know if that's going on, but I would want to explore in our relationship over the years. Do you feel like you've had as much territory with mom or dad, with the family, with our physical house, with the approval as I, you know, did? Let's talk about that, because I want to understand how you felt deprived in that way. And then fourthly, I'd say this, and then I got to go. What I don't want here, sister, What I don't want
Yeah.
is I don't want an all or nothing. It sounded like you
Yeah.
feel like I'm smothering you. It's kind of like if you have any of me in your life, it's going to feel like I'm taking over your whole life. And I don't want to do that, but I don't want to go to nothing. So let's figure
Mm.
out in this continuum kind of, what normal would be. But I would venture to strongly guess that it has more to do with issue
Yeah.
number three, the history of
Okay.
maybe some of the unworked through dynamics. And maybe there are ways that in
Okay.
your effervescence and your being out there and all of that, that if she's a little more introverted or a little more passive, you do feel overwhelming to her. That's very possible.
Yeah.
Just a
Yeah.
temperament thing. Okay. I got to run, but thank you
Yeah.
for your call.
Yeah. Okay.
And I hope that helps. Hope you get this worked out. Sounds like those kids need their auntie. I would have, it's interesting. I think kids, this isn't specifically about their situation, but one of the most, one of the things I'm most grateful for in our kids' lives, and I would want all of you parents out there, especially of little kids, to sort of look at this. Sometimes it can't come from family of origin. There aren't aunties and grandparents or whoever that are available. And if they are available, they're not the kind you want involved. But you really, really, really want your kids. Let me say it a better way. I really, really, really would want your kids to grow up feeling like they are part of a tribe that loves them. A tribe. Mom and dad are at the innermost circle. Okay. But then there's concentric circles out there of they're part of, it does take a village, right? And one of the things, sorry, this I feel this still. One of the things I'm most grateful for our kids. I'll tell you a little story. Some of you may get an idea from this. We moved to Los Angeles when Olivia was still in the womb. Tori was pregnant with Olivia when we moved to LA. We didn't know anybody. And then she was born. We moved in this neighborhood. We didn't know anybody. And we got a new baby. Our church was a little bit far away, the one we've been going to be part of, the baby community, whatever that was. And so we're in this new neighborhood. And this woman that we met in the neighborhood said, there's another couple that has a new baby. Y'all ought to meet and put us together. And so the guy and I started to, I'm going to check my watch here. Whoa, I've got to really get on with this. The guy and I started talking, and I said, you know what? Well, if you're here in the neighborhood and you didn't know about us, and we're here in the neighborhood, we didn't know about you, I wonder if there's other couples with little bitty baby age kids around here. And so we decided, well, let's find out. And so the name of the street was Comstock. And so we said, let's have a barbecue. We'll call it Comstork, meaning stork that brings babies. And we printed up flyers, literally. And we said, if you have a baby under a year old, bring a dish. We're going to have a barbecue, bring something, kind of a potluck. And we gave a few to the lady that introduced us, and we met some older couples walking their dogs, and we're handing out flyers, and we had a date on it. This is a true story. We really did this. We didn't know what was going to happen. 14 couples showed up on that date in our backyard with babies. I'm talking babies. And it was supposed to go from like 4 to 7 or something like that. Or I don't know, 5 to 7. I don't know what it was. And about midnight, we had to say, everybody's got to work tomorrow. Everybody was connecting. They didn't find out that you were here and we were here, and all such interesting people, and in this neighborhood we didn't even know about. And at the end of it, somebody said, "This is so much fun. Let's do it. We'll do it again next month at my house." And so they did it again, and then we did it again. Well, at the same time, all the moms got to know each other, and they started having Friday play dates, and gatherings and breakfast every Friday morning. And these women mostly would be together, and some husbands could be there. They worked at home or whatever. But anyway, they started, and then this tribe developed. And then it grew to about 20 families. And all of those kids grew up together. But the cool thing is, my kids had so many adults that loved them. And they had to learn to obey, but that pulled for them and cheered for them. And then, we'd go on trips together, a bunch of these families, and we're still friends, and the kids are still in touch. See, that's a village, that's a tribe. Could happen through your church, could happen through your school, or you might have to do it yourself like we did it and build it. Or some of you are fortunate enough to have extended family that live nearby. They're a big part of that as well. But it's not only kids, it's adults. We all need a village. So I want you to think about community and how you're building that in your life, not only for your children, but for you and as couples or singles. You need the same thing, and you need to be integrated to families. Let's build villages and have that fabric of the way we were designed to live, and we will be healthier for it. Okay. Got to run, guys. Remember, go to boundaries.me, become a subscriber. There's a bunch of courses there on all of this stuff that you get access to by becoming a member of boundaries.me. And the dating webinar is coming up March 24th. We have early bird registration going on right now, where you save some money for signing up early. And that is at boundaries.me/dating. Okay. Love you guys. And I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.